I would like to invite to conversation, to moderate the conversation, Professor Yifat Biton. And the director and producer of the Ancestral Sin, David Deri.
Hello, everyone. All the ones that are leaving, I hope you're going to vote. Thank you so much. It's really important for me to be here and to share this story with you after I'm doing this in the last year heavily in every city, every distant town in Israel, in every place, listening to a lot of people with a lot of opinions and sharing with them everything that I have learned, what you saw and what you didn't. And so I'm glad to be here also with you.
Thank you, David. Thank you for joining us. It's really so emotional and thought-provoking watching the movie each time again. I think it's the fourth time for me to watch, and it's great each time and again. It's the vigorous manner in which you have taken matters into hand in presenting the story of Mizrahis in Israel. Mizrahis, here we'll use this term, it's more of a political term, but it's coming from the division of Mizrahim and Ashkenazim here in America, mostly known as Sephardic Jews and Ashkenazi. And I want to start with asking you, what led you there? So in many respects, it's a banal question in the sense that, you know, you were born and raised in a development town, me too. So his mom says at some stage that they got to Castina and they insisted on going there. And I was like, oh my God, we could have been, you know, we could have raised together, yeah. So in that respect,
the thing is, if you can help us with those lights, because it really...
It normally never works for me, but maybe for the director? Yeah, it won't work. Concentrate here.
Okay.
So what I'm asking is, clearly it's a personal thing, but what led you to that stage? You were making films prior to this one that touched upon the issue of development towns and of Yerucham. What was it that got you to this type of documentary work?
All right. Actually, you're asking about my personal motivation and what brought me to this position. And I have to say that as you said, and as you saw also in the film, I've after studying cinema in Sderot, another little town, distant town in Israel, I have found myself again and again returning to Yerucham, my little town, and trying to tell the story of Yerucham in many ways, many aspects, because I felt and knew that the story of this place is not being told or at all, or being told not correctly.
But you did touch upon the issue in the past. So what made you put it? If I look at it from a legal perspective, even as a verdict against.
So this is it. I felt in each project in each film, I think it was 3 or 4 documentaries, that I'm getting close and close to this huge story that I felt as a teenager that was not told. And this brings me to tell a little bit, if we have time, about my childhood, because I was born and raised in Yerucham, 10 brothers and sisters, and my grandmother who lived with us and spoke only Moroccan, not a word in Hebrew. Yeah, and it was like I was a kind of a freak of immigration stories. I always loved to hear again and again the stories of my parents and their friends when they used to come on Saturdays. I was, as a kid, sitting with the oldest, these old people and listen to their stories. And you know, even as a kid, I remember that I felt that there's a lot of holes in their visions, in the stories, and those holes, as I grew up to learn, are those protocols. This story that I'm very happy to say that I reached this point that I could actually reveal this untold story, and to be in this position that so many people in Israel in the last year are really I'm experiencing a huge thing, because it's like so many people of my parents' generation, you know, people in Israel, maybe in their age or a little less, could tell that, you know, whenever these people wanted to tell the story of how they immigrated to Israel, so they faced people that told them that, you know, there are a bunch of bombers or people who likes to dig again and again in the past, and why to do so. And I know for a fact, because I'm meeting while I'm visiting so many of this distance town, people that are telling me, well, it's the first time that I can really watch the facts and understand that the story that we've been wanting to tell in so many you know, so many times, and we're not, it's like we were not allowed. Then now we realize that it really happened. It was those facts actually tell the story that we wanted to tell in so many. And I have to say even one more sentence about our generation, mine and yours, because
before that, I want to go to the point what try and conceptualize what he said, which is a classic activist move of taking things from the private to the public, showing how the personal is actually political in that respect. And it was the story of Yerucham, which emerged from your own story, but actually it was the story of development towns all through Israel. So in that respect, you did a classic activist work. Did you know that this is what you were doing, or did you look at it as a, you know, artistic work of a cinema person?
Well, you know, it was 6 years of my life with a lot of stages, and I have to say that in most of them I didn't actually feel that I'm doing an activist job or work, because it was, first of all, it was mixed with my personal motivation to reveal something that I felt that has a lot to do with the present. You know, you've watched a film that tells maybe a history lesson, but the first and the last thing that is very important for me to say is that this past influenced the present and the life of so many people. And you know, when you get to details and the facts, the thing that the reason that it took us 6 years, it's because the most important thing for us is to not to tell opinions and not our opinions, but to bring facts.
Make it
and this is what I want to tell also today, not to bring my opinion. And I'm saying that because, you know, this film, and later on also the doc series that was based on it, ramped up a huge debate in Israel, and it's because for the first time we've put the facts on the table, and we've told the story that, you know, I said that I'm visiting so many places, meeting tens of thousands now, and I can assure you that maybe 90% of them do not know this story.
So those who know the
maybe
history,
this is
so
the
those who know
political
now,
issue.
who have the facts now, I'm very intrigued by what you just said. Because now that you have it fact-based, okay?
Yeah.
It's not that it did not make people question it, think that it was actually, some kind of indictment that you served to the Israeli young state, which it doesn't deserve. There was a lot of controversy over how fair and how relevant the film is in that respect, or the documentary series, if we want to be more accurate. So is it something that we can at all win? Is it a battle that you thought you would win, and now that you see some of the backlash that we get back, do you think this is something like a path that we should pursue at all?
So first, yes, I have to admit that I'm not meeting only people that are hugging these facts or hugging the film or hugging me. I do meet a lot of people that aggressively, from time to time, reacting with saying, why even continuing to deal with this? What are you doing? It's like we want to be united, and why to bring all these? It's like
past stories and past wounds, and we want them all to heal.
Yeah, from time to time they say that they're afraid of what it do, and I have to say that I'm listening to them, I'm hearing them. And a lot of times, I have to say that people that the ones that I telling that they're aggressively reacting in an aggressive way, if they give those facts a real chance, then it changes everything. It changes them. I've met many people that at the beginning, since it's already maybe a year or a year and a half since we brought these materials, we've aired it. Many people that I knew at the beginning with these aggressive reactions, and after they gave the fact this real chance, after they heard it, and it led them to go and to continue researching the influence and the significance of those facts, and some of them, you'd be maybe glad to learn, have become the most
proponents,
the distributors of this film.
Yeah. So I think there's, as someone who deals with these issues as well, and as someone who has done it in the legal world, the legal system, right, to try and show how Mizrahis are actually a discriminated group. I'm taking it allegedly from where you left, right? This is discrimination. We have discrimination here. How do we go forward from here to nullify the discrimination? It's not that I get, a classic cooperation of people who once have seen the facts are now all about curing the situation. I think there's a lot of anxiety there as well, that concerns the question of, so where do you go with this? And maybe this is the last scene that or one of the last scenes that you've shown about the reactions of the people to whom you screened the facts to, right? These Mizrahi people who have diverse reactions.
Well, I have to say, a lot of people are asking me, okay, now that we've learned those facts, what do we do with it? It's like, okay, we believe
What's
it.
next?
This is what really happened, and I'm it's this for itself is a huge thing, because we all, as me and grew up on
complete denial
with textbooks.
Yes.
This story was not it was not there, and now, since it's there, and since we actually learned what really happened, and this, as I said, huge story, What I am doing, and this is what I'm, telling almost every day the people, is that I'm trying, to take this discussion to a place of realizing after, as I said, realizing what really happened. How do we fix it? What can we do in order to change the reality of people that are still living there and
to restore equality
in these gaps, the gaps in the economy and the society, and lately, actually, in the last maybe half year, most of my lectures in Israel and the screening is with government officials, and many of them in most of the
can influence the reality.
Yes,
by,
and I have to say that
adopting policy
yes,
that would
and one of the
rectify.
most cheerful that makes me, also stay optimistic is that I meet so many people that are having so many suggestions, and they want, they want to do something with it. So they ask me, what can I do? And there's so many of them that have so many interesting ideas of what can we do and how to put a pressure of the people who should do it. And I'm taking it one step further and going to those officials, and I have to say that till now many things has happened.
Has
and
been
a lot,
changing already.
Yes,
that's true.
And
well,
we're
I look at you with envy. I need people to read, like I need to write, but then they need to read about 100 pages of trying to bring a legal argument as to why this is important. With you, they only need to watch a movie. Okay, so I envy you.
Not just.
So let's no, of course, but let's open the floor for your reactions, which would be very interesting to us as two Israelis to learn the perspective of an more American audience. Yes, please.
I found the film very, very moving, and I can't say that I found it shocking at all. A little bit, I guess Ben Gurion is a hero, and I was shocked to find that he was part of those protocols and acknowledged what was happening. Two things. You were going to say...
So were you or weren't you shocked?
I was shocked at how systematic they did it, how it was thought out. It was too cold-blooded, I think. And I was especially touched when Professor Efrat looked you in the eye, and you looked him back, and he basically said, no, he has no misgivings. He doesn't personally feel badly. And he's basically looking at a person whose life he affected completely. I mean, he and the other people determined where you would be born and basically what kind of options would be given to you. So, Mike, I do have a question. My question is, does the Army, when everybody goes to the Army, eliminate those different gradations in society? Or is that a myth that we Americans have bought into, that the Army equalizes the Mizrahi Jews, the Ashkenazi Jews, now the Ethiopian Jews?
I would not say that. I don't know even why you think the army takes this as its role, or I think in many cases you can actually find it as taking it to a wider place. It's like many people who come to the army from time to time. You actually expect, to find a different approach, but the army is us. The army is the same people who who listens to all these stories outside of the army, and they bring it in. It's like I don't see. Do you feel?
I think that there is something about that. So to a certain extent, it is happening in the army. The army is, to a very limited extent, an arena in which Mizrahi people coming from a very underprivileged background could prosper to a degree that would allow them some kind of equitable status. We've seen it with some of our friends at the time, like our generation people. But nowadays, the army is not the arena for creating this, for having this power of equality or equalifying the society. It's more like the high-tech market, and there you see, again, unfortunately, a very clear dominant Ashkenazi realm. But there are
Talking
programs
about
in the army that try
discrimination
to
and perceptions,
rectify.
I think you can find it there as well.
Another question up here.
Hello. I want to congratulate you for this fabulous movie.
Thank you so much.
I was suffering all the time watching it, but unavoidably, I actually have a question. How's your generation? Did they actually get educated properly and made doctors and get some kind of successful stories? That's one question. Another question, what happened to the people who actually left those settlements, which were 1,000 restrictions? Is any success stories of them actually did escape this discrimination?
Well, there are a lot of success stories, as you can, many people are asking me from time to time, if you're sitting here and you reach the point that you can actually direct this film and bring it to us, so you succeeded. And then the other question is, if you succeeded, maybe it means that everyone can succeed. And then I'm saying it's not really only a matter of if you say that, it's like you ignore all the influence and the significance of this of all the facts we've learned here. But to answer your question, Professor Erez Tzfadia, who actually deals with these facts and research it for a long time, as he said here, when you get out of this city, if you do, you come to realize that you need to begin your life outside from zero or underneath it, because it's like regarding, I have to say, a basic thing when you actually deal with these facts, and you go to check the basis area in life, like in education and in we're talking here about also public housing, and eventually what comes out in your paycheck or your salary, you find out that these places are it was not in coincidence that they became the place for in Israel it's very known as השכבות החלשות. It's like you understand that there was something that sent those people there, sent those people to live there in, and it was not it was something that was built and established and founded in with a lot of thinking. It was not a coincidence.
So it's hard to escape it, to escape the fate that it brings upon you. But in a way, I think that it is important to state that living in or being raised like we were in a development town is only one substantial, but only one of the elements that affect your mobilization in Israel. So even if you leave these development towns the way I have with my parents left at some stage and took me with them, I still carried with me and carrying up until these days some of the other factors, of course, of Mizrahihood, those that are much discreet, such as my name, my appearance, the way the way I talk, the way I use my hands, like Yaron London says, oh, you all speak with your hands in the air and you hug and you're whatever. So you have other elements that have to be factored into it. It makes you normally it puts you in a better position to be outside the development town. Nowadays in the development town, the situation is as bad as it used to be, if not even worse.
We have time for one more last question, right over here.
I want to tell you, my name is Muhammad Bakri. I'm Palestinian. I love your film
Thank you.
so much. I'm proud of you, very proud of you that you told very honestly, without any politics, your own personal story. Thank you so much.
And we're a team, so I'm gonna add a question. So the prejudice against Mizrahim, which really comes from the same worldview of anything Mizrahi, which includes Muhammad, viewing him as a primitive person, as a person who really can't develop. This is a fact that it's well known in Israel. What your film did was it didn't just show you how that was alive and well, but how completely the Ashkenazi leadership decided they're primitive, they're not worth much, they're like Arabs, we can treat them badly, and so they put them in terrible conditions. But what your film did was horrified us. Because when you have people that they threaten to starve, where you have armed guards, we're horrified. My question is, and there is a question, don't laugh at me, is what did you want from this? Did you want people to say, now we really see that it wasn't just our imaginations, it was a systematic plan, or do you want people who are the products of this to rise up and say, wait a minute, we want to get something back from the government who took from us?
Yes, is it recognition or pizzeria?
Well,
Question I wanted to ask.
continuing what I've answered before. First of all, I do believe it's a huge difference to begin now this argument from a different place. These facts being now on the table changes everything, because a lot of people were I've told the story of my the generation of my parents, and the denial and everything. So first of all, I do believe that not everybody agrees, but agreeing on these facts and saying that this is what happened, it's the first stage, and only afterwards you can start dealing of what to do with it. And as said, I do believe that the next stage is to struggle, and the struggle is for a change. As she said now, and it's a very important thing to say, ever since, as Alicia Efrat tells me in one of the important lines, he says, we knew that those people are miserable, and we knew that we put them in these very horrible conditions, but we told ourselves, maybe a few years would go by and then we'll settle it. But as he told me in the end of this interview, it's not in the film, he said, you know what, we never really tried. And it is true to say, it also not my opinion, that long after those places have been established, no one really actually did a real effort with a real plan to change it. It was like, every time there was a whole new project that was, charmed. It was the new thing, the new role of that the governments, all the governments, by the way, took for themselves. It's like afterwards it was the the establishment of the Mitzpim at the Galilee, and afterwards it was also the the West Bank and all the settlements and the milliards that went there. And you can argue about it, but at least some of it should have gone to those little towns to fix. As he said, after a few years, maybe we'll try to. But you can find it all even in the protocols. Those people told themselves, it's okay. We've succeeded. Those places are now. We needed to bring people, population, and they're there now. So it's like the most important thing to do now is to struggle to change. And I think the first stage, as said, is first to understand what really happened, to change our textbooks, the history textbooks, which are still, in one of the last months, one of my lectures after the screening was with people from who actually teaches this. And they assured me that, this little paragraph that I've been speaking about with my friend that tells our huge story is now maybe almost a page. So it's like we have so much to do after that. I've talked about those gaps. You can make a real great plan out of it to change. But you need, you have to struggle for that. So
David,
maybe this is the next stage.
Thank you so much for bringing this conversation to the table
Thank you
for
so
being
much
with us today.
Thank you.
Yifat, thank you very much for being here. I want to thank you all for being here today with us.